What's up, y'all? Welcome to another edition of Bardo's Breakdown. I'm your man, Stephen Bardo. Trying something a little different here. Little nice background music for your listening pleasure while we get started today. It's been a great week of college basketball in the Big Ten, y'all. I'm telling you, the conference is as strong as it's ever been. There's a lot of talk about the conference being down, but I don't think that is the case anymore. So, when we talk about things that are happening inside the league, the strength of the league, the non-conference results have been outstanding. And so we'll get into all that. But in today's show, to start out, I want to give a big thanks to the Big Ten coaches and players that come up to me and tell me that they watch Bardo's Breakdown. It warms my heart. I appreciate it. Coaches and players, share it, comment, like on the video. It really helps the growth. And I think when people understand that the pros in the industry are listening and watching Bardo's Breakdown, I think that really will help my marketing and help the credibility of this show, because I do put a lot into it. I really enjoy it. My audience, the tribe, is one of the more knowledgeable audiences in college basketball. They don't have step, they come strong, or they don't come at all. So, but thank you to the Big Ten coaches and players that come up and say hello and tell me they watch Bardo's Breakdown. Again, like, share, comment on these videos, because it really, really helps. And I appreciate each and every one of you. So let's get into it here. Teams of the week this week. I had to go with co-winners because I didn't want to, not give Purdue their love. Maryland has been the surprise of the conference, but let's start with Purdue first. Purdue got a win in the ACC Big Ten Challenge over Florida State, and then they came back and smacked Minnesota. And Zach Edey went off, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Maryland is 8-0. They're playing very well. They got their first real test, in my opinion, against Illinois Friday night. They hosted Illinois, came away with a 71-66 victory. High-level game, crazy excitement and atmosphere in the Xfinity Center in College Park, Maryland. It's good to see, because that's a great college basketball venue. That place was rocking. So big ups to Purdue and Maryland being co-teams of the week in the Big Ten. Players of the week, Zach Edey versus Minnesota. I know that the Big Ten Conference have co-Big Ten players of the week, as they should. I'll get to Chris Murray in a minute, but I wanted to give up love to Zach Edey because he is probably on the top of more scouting reports than maybe any player in college basketball. Teams have to do more to try to combat Zach's size, his presence, his emerging skill set, and his productivity. So big ups to him with a monster game, 31 points, 22 rebounds in a 19-point victory for the Boilers over the Gophers in West Lafayette. And then I want to mention some other players who I think have been outstanding. Chucky Hepburn, onions. Man, did he listen, I got the pleasure. Thank you, FS1, who they got the Marquette, Wisconsin game. That is my 7th time calling that game. I love that rivalry. Doesn't get a lot of pub around the country. One of the better college basketball rivalries in the nation. So you get 77 miles or 79 miles, if you're listening to Jeff Levering, between the Kohl Center and Fiserv Forum, Kohl Center in Madison, Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee. 77, 79 miles separate the two, but great games. I don't care who's ranked. I don't care who's struggling. Whenever they come into that game, it is lively. The crowd was into it. Wisconsin goes up double figures, and let me give you a little bit of insight into the game if you didn't see it. So Wisconsin is playing well. Marquette's not really forcing a lot of turnovers. Wisconsin goes to the halftime break up. And then Chucky Hepburn's trying to loosen up in the second half. He starts the second half, and he can't even continue. He goes to the bench. He's grimacing. He looks like he's grabbing his groin. So I'm thinking, man, he must have strained his groin. Goes back to the locker room. He's back there 12 minutes of game time, which is probably more like 20, 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of real time. At least 12 minutes, no, maybe even 40 minutes. He's back in the locker room. So I'm saying on the air, generally when you have an injury and guys are gone that long, they don't come back because it's hard to get loose again. All of a sudden, Chucky Hepburn does a Willis Reed and comes on the back of the bench and he starts jumping around, getting loose. Greg Gard sees him, asks him, you ready? He comes back in the game, and the dude is like he never got hurt. He hit clutch shot after clutch shot. They got to overtime. He hit a sidestep three. Woo! Nasty stuff, man. Nasty stuff. Hold on. I got somebody. Okay. So I said, in a tribute to Bill Raftery, I said on the air, onions, because I can't say, he reached down and, grabbed his manhood. I can't say that on the air, but that's what I wanted to say because, baby, Chucky Hepburn is clutch. So big ups to Chucky Hepburn. Chris Murray of Iowa. A similar output to Zach Edey's game, 31 points, 20 rebounds versus Georgia Tech. Chris Murray, I said this last week, I wasn't trying to put a ton of pressure on him with Keegan going to Sacramento Kings, but Chris Murray has just stepped in and emerged, and his numbers are better than Keegan's at the same time last season. So big ups to Chris Murray and the Murray family, boy, because y'all getting it done. Y'all are getting it done quick, fast, in a hurry. And Iowa's got a couple tough matchups coming up this week that I'm sure Chris and his teammates will be tested. Big ups to Northwestern. I was fortunate enough to be on the call last night in the Breslin Center, which I always love calling games at Michigan State. The Izzone is one of the best student sections in the country. Tom Izzo is a dear friend of mine, and I love him to death, Hall of Fame coach. So I love going to Michigan State, and I love the coaching staff at Northwestern because me and Chris Collins go way back. I played for his dad, Doug, with the Pistons, one of my short coffee breaks in the NBA. But I've known Chris forever. And, I love to see when he does well, even though they've been struggling in past years, they may have turned the corner. And so one of the reasons why I believe that Northwestern is better and they're able to go on the road and get a big-time victory against Michigan State, second year in a row, by the way. But they have a level of poise. Boo Buie played, I thought, his best game that I've seen him, that I've covered of him. And I've covered, a lot of Northwestern games in his career. I think from his decision-making to the plays that he was making to taking over, and boy, he hit a clutch drive at the end to seal the victory. I thought Boo Buie was outstanding. Probably his best overall floor game that I've ever seen him play. One of the reasons why I think Northwestern is better this year is because of the addition of assistant coach Chris Lowry. If you guys remember, Chris Lowry was a player at SIU. He was the head coach at Southern Illinois University. He was most recently an assistant under Bruce Weber at Kansas State. He is now on the Northwestern coaching staff, and Northwestern is one of the best defensive teams in the country. And that's where Chris Lowry hangs his hat, is on the defensive end. No knock against Brian James. Brian James, an offensive juggernaut on that staff. He's a dear friend of mine as well. Love him. And but Chris Lowry's addition, I can tell the defensive stickiness and defensive toughness has elevated, and it's more consistent through the games. I got to remind you guys, Northwestern lost a 1-point game to Auburn. And it was funny because, I got some insight. They go in the halftime huddle, the halftime tunnel, and Auburn's trying to pick a fight with Northwestern, and all of a sudden Northwestern doesn't back down, come back in the second half, and it was a rock fight. And Northwestern was up with 1 minute left and had an untimely turnover. Auburn comes and hits a shot and wins the game by 1, but I think it showed them something. Then Northwestern comes back in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, probably a little tired from the tournament down in Mexico, maybe still reeling from the loss to Auburn that they thought they had, and Pittsburgh came in and really handled them. And so for them to get off the mat, go to East Lansing, and win in the fashion that they did, because they took the lead Probably 15 minutes into the second half, and I don't believe they relinquished it. I think Michigan State got close, but I don't think they ever took the lead. Northwestern held the lead and closed out the game. That's very impressive. Their defensive effort to hold Michigan State to 63 points at home. Big ups to Northwestern. All right. So, I got something for you guys. Look, if you know anybody or you yourself wants to go into sportscasting, I've got something for you. It's called The Art of Sportscasting. Copy the link right there, bardomedia.kartra, KRTA.com/page/KYA1244. Check that out, man. I'm telling you, that's a free training to help you get comfortable on the air. And so I've got an online course now that can teach aspiring sportscasters or people that want to change into the career of sports broadcasting how to become a sportscaster, how to be prepared to become a sportscaster without going into student loan debt or without picking up a college tuition. All right. Go to that link, check it out. Let me know what you think. I'd love to get your feedback on that. And if you've got young people that want to get into the business, there's nobody that's teaching this that is a practitioner like yours truly. So it's very rare that you can get somebody to give you this kind of specialized information that's actually doing it. I don't know that anybody on a college campus or at some of these other specialty sports broadcasting schools, I don't know that any of their instructors are currently on the air like yours truly. So go to that link, check it out, and let me know if you want to become a sportscaster. All right. So let's get back to it. Let's talk about the games of the week. And please stay with me, audience. I will answer all of your questions. I want to get through our rundown, and then I'll go to questions. But thank you for joining, all of you. Thank you very much. Games of the week. And there's several. I can only do in each banner. So for tomorrow, Illinois versus Texas in the Jimmy V Classic. That's going to be a great challenge. Texas, one of the hottest teams in college basketball right now. Maybe the best defensive team in all of college basketball. That's a great challenge for the Illini in New York. Maryland has to go to Wisconsin. We're going to figure out if the Terrapins are for real. It's one thing to win at home and beat quality teams at home. It's another thing to go on the road into the Kohl Center, one of the toughest places to get a road victory in the Big Ten. And then Iowa plays Duke out in, I think it's at the Barclays Center. And I can't remember exactly what the name of the game is or what if they're playing in a showcase or whatnot. But great challenge for the Duke Blue Devils and the Iowa Hawkeyes because Duke is young, but they're coming on. Ryan Young, you guys might remember, Northwestern grad transfer to Duke, is playing very well. And I think this will be a great showcase for Chris Murray and his Iowa State Hawkeyes. 12-8, Iowa State versus Iowa. Very similar to Marquette and Wisconsin, a great in-state rivalry. The Cyclones are one of the better defensive teams in college basketball versus the Hawkeyes. This is always a great game. Make sure you tune in for that one. Ooh. Indiana, and I'll talk about this a little bit later. Indiana's got a game Wednesday that I'll be calling. They host the Nebraska Huskers, but they take on Arizona. Oh, my goodness. Arizona, in my opinion, top 5 team in college basketball. Bello and Tubelis up front, one of the biggest and most efficient front lines in college basketball, goes up against Trace Jackson Davis, Race Thompson, Malik Renew of Indiana. Great matchup for the Hoosiers. And then Wisconsin has to go to Iowa. Always a great game between those two programs. And then Tennessee against Maryland. Tennessee is rough. I mean, I believe they're top 15, but Rick Barnes has a very good squad. The Volunteers, Maryland gets some really good challenges this week. On the road at Wisconsin, now they got to face Maryland, okay? Don't forget, guys, you can get these tumblers. These are sweet now. I'm telling you, my sister shortened the link for it. The other link I know is kind of long. That's a short link. Shop Customize with a K, KUSTOMIZE it.com. You can get these sweet Bardo's Breakdown Tumblers. Also got the Flying Illini logo, 89 on the back. Come check it out. You know, I'm always got my goodies in here. And no, Larry Smith, is not alcohol. It's iced tea. So go to shopcustomizeit.com to get your Flying Illini tumbler today. All right. And let's see. I'm going to show you my schedule this week. On Wednesday, I've got the resurgent Nebraska Huskers. They go into Creighton, the number 7 Creighton Blue Jays. Nebraska goes into Creighton, beats them by 10 points. Outstanding game, and probably the biggest game and biggest win in Fred Hoiberg's coaching career at Nebraska. Now, here's the thing. Nebraska has 3 straight victories over top 25 AP top 25 teams, 3 in a row. And so they're going to Indiana, which is in the top. I think Indiana dropped to maybe 17 in the AP poll. Nebraska has won 3 straight against AP top 25 teams. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. Check me out on Big Ten Network. Me and Kevin Kugler on the 1s and 2s Wednesday night. Then I'm back here in Chicago in BTN studio Thursday night. We'll be covering Iowa State, among some other games among Big Ten teams. And then Saturday, Purdue at Nebraska. This is going to be interesting. Purdue, the hottest team in the Big Ten outside of Maryland, go on the road to face Nebraska. Now, here's the thing. My producer, Glenn Hallis, that I work with a lot with Big Ten Network, we like to come up with these graphics, and he wanted me to pick my Big Ten favorite. And I said, I can't pick my Big Ten favorite until I see these Purdue freshmen, Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. I want to see what they do on the road in a true road environment. Going to a neutral site is cool. Being at home is great. Going on the road in Big Ten is a whole different ball game. Totally different ball game. I got to see how they handle the pressure of being on the road and the whistle's not necessarily going their way. That's going to be an interesting matchup. Purdue versus Nebraska, 1:15 Saturday afternoon on Big Ten Network. So that's my schedule for the week. Let me get to your questions. Ooh, we got a lot of people on here today. I appreciate you all jumping in. Kenneth Nelson, what's good? Thank you, Kenneth, for joining. I appreciate your time. Carol Paul Paquette, one of the tribe members. Carol's been a huge supporter of the show. You can join the tribe. You see the number down there, 312-847-2739. Send me a text that you want to join the tribe. It's a text community. I don't blow you up, but I'm giving you insight and certain things behind the scenes of when I go to games and when I talk to coaches and things like that. So if you want to join the tribe, go to text me, 312-847-2739. All right. Let's see what wait a minute. Okay, here we go. Good to see you, Carol. I missed the Wisconsin game. Didn't see any highlights either. I was gone for the weekend. You missed a great game. Woo! Marquette came back, forced overtime. That place was rocking, and Chucky Hepburn had ice water in his veins. Yep. You saw the picture of me and Coach Lowry. I don't think Bruce Weber's retired. I just think he's in television right now. I wouldn't say that Coach Weber's out of the business totally. He's just he's working with us at Big Ten Network this season. But coaches are funny, Carol. It's hard to leave that profession. It's a all or nothing type of profession. And I'm amazed at the guys like Seth Greenberg, Fran Fraschilla, Dan Dockich, who said, you know what, I'm good with the coaching. I'm gonna stay on the broadcast side, because that coaching, man, it's an addictive profession. You're a teacher, you're a builder and molder of young people. It's a great profession. It takes its toll, but I wouldn't say that Coach Weber is retired. I just say that he's not necessarily working it right now. Julian Darnell, does the dominance of Zach Edey remind you of Shaq in his LSU days? Not as athletic, but with the presence he's providing. That's a great comparison, Julian. I never thought of it like that. But we may have to start thinking of that in those numbers with that dominating performance of 31 points and 22 rebounds. That hadn't been done since Biggie, God rest his soul, from Purdue. I believe he had a 31 point, 25 rebound game. But yet maybe we have to start talking about that, Julian. That's a very good point. Let's keep an eye on that. All right. Thanks for joining, Julian. Mike McKenna, I'm going to pull out a win. Illini going to pull out a win in New York City. Texas is rough. Ooh. They've under Beard, Coach Beard. Texas was a really good defensive team last season. They just couldn't score. They can score the basketball now. So I don't know. Jaden Epps, Sky Clark, they're going to have their hands full. Coleman Hawkins is going to have to be a pressure release a lot of times. And the Illini are not going to really be able to run a lot of plays against Texas. You're going to have guys just go make plays. You can set the Illini, Brad Underwood can get them in some motion type offense. And then look, when you've got a mismatch or a matchup that you think is favorable, go downhill or make a play. But you can't run your set offense against Texas. They're too good defensively. So the ability for the Illini to create their own offense is going to be key in this matchup. If they can't, and they have to rely on their sets to get scores, if they can't get in the fast break situation, it's going to be tough to beat the Longhorns because defensively they're one of the best in the country. Thanks for joining, Mike. Donovan Lang, Mamela from the other side of the country. Good morning, good evening from Singapore. Good to see you, Donovan. Thanks for jumping on, brother. I always love when you jump on. Donovan Lang, tribe member as well. Mike Waldboozer, good to see you, Mike. Isn't Iowa Duke also in the Garden after the Illini, Texas? I believe so. Mike, thank you for that. Thank you for that update. And always thanks for your support. I really appreciate it. What's good, Lauren Foster? How you doing? I know Jawan and your boys went over to London. Michigan comes up short against Kentucky over in London. In case you guys missed it, it was yesterday, a specialty game in London, England, as the game is trying to expand the marketing and reach over in Europe. It was a close game. Michigan fought back and really got close to Kentucky in the end. The only downside outside of the loss was that Jalen Llewellyn goes down with a knee injury. We don't know the status or the extent of the injury quite yet. Hopefully it's not serious, but that was something that nobody wants to see. Jalen goes up for a jumper. He comes down awkwardly, grabs his knee. He stayed on the floor for a little bit of time. He got helped off the floor. He came back with ice on his knee, was not able to finish the game. So I will update you when I figure out the duration was on that. Lauren, thank you so much for joining. Larry Smith, Boo Smith, my man, Mella, brother from another mother, flying Illini brother right there. What's good, bro? How you doing? You heard my comment, huh? Iced tea, baby. No alcohol. Iced tea. Love you, Laro. Thanks for joining, bro. Jacob Grandison transferred to Duke too. Yes, he did. And he's having spot duty. He's not having as much success as Ryan Young has. Ryan Young has started some games due to some of the injuries to Derek Lively and Derek Whitehead. But Jacob Grandison he'll come in and be clutch for them at some point in the season. Yes, he is wearing a Duke uniform as well. I know what I'm doing on Wednesday night, especially since the best color guy whom I'm listening to is covering the game. Thank you, Carol. I appreciate you. Hey, James Coomer. James, good to see you. The Big Ten seems loaded again. This is at least the third straight year with several top 15 teams. How do you explain the disappointing performance in the tournament the last few years? I'm getting a few of those tumblers. Thank you. Thank you, James. I appreciate that. Great question. And I'm going to say something that's a little bit controversial, but I'm going to say it to you all because you all are investing the time to join me here on Bardo's Breakdown. Here's what I really think. The Big Ten Conference made a change of who is supervising officials. And Terry Weimer, a former official, a very good one, is helping the Big Ten out with the officials. Now, what most fans of Big Ten teams and Big Ten basketball don't realize is that the officiating had changed a little bit. And so the creme de la creme, the really top level officials, were migrating out of the Big Ten Conference and weren't really calling games. Now, I'm not going to name names who I think is responsible for this, but he's no longer with the conference. So Terry Weimer, who's one of the better officials, in my opinion, in the game, is now overseeing that process. And he may be in on an interim basis. I don't know if it's permanent, but he's in right now. And so now I've been seeing several of some of the best officials: John Higgins, Pat Driscoll, James Breeding, Jeffrey Anderson, Bert Smith. I'm missing a few guys off the top of my head, but these guys are the best of the best. And they have not been calling Big Ten games. Now they are. They're starting to come back to the conference. And I think this will have a humongous, huge effect on Big Ten basketball through the season, because these guys are calling NCAA tournament games, right? But if you got officials who are calling your conference games who aren't calling NCAA tournament games, that kind of hurts you a little bit, in my opinion. So, James, great question, and I hope this is an answer that will give you a little bit of insight to what I think is really going to help the conference. Now, I've talked to head coaches, I've talked to assistant coaches, and I'm not going to put anybody on blast, but they're happy with the changes as well. So if the Big Ten coaches are happy about it, they understand the importance of what it will do for the quality of the basketball throughout the conference, leading into the Big Ten Conference tournament, leading in to the NCAA tournament. James, spot on, my man. Thank you, brother. And thank you for your support. James is very, very consistent in his support. Is that iced tea in your tumbler? Long Island iced tea. Go Boilers. No alcohol. Just straight sweet iced tea. Like, guys, I do really well with my diet because I'm trying to maintain this beautiful figure and these pearly whites and this smile. So I'm really into diet. And one of my weaknesses is sweet tea. Like, I'm trying to be like my man Kevin Kugler, where he does iced tea, but it's not sweet, it's unsweetened. And I'm just like, man, that's half the fun, is having the sweet tea. It reminds me of like when my mom taught me how to put, you guys remember this? Like, I know I'm tripping, but I used to get we had these big mason jars, and she taught me how to make iced tea out, naturally. So I'd put I'd put the Lipton tea bags in this water in this mason jar, put the aluminum foil over it and poke holes in it, put it outside in the sun, in the Southern Illinois sun for like 3 or 4 hours. Dude, you had iced tea. Then I'd put a half a container of sugar in it, and I had diabetic sweet tea. That's what I grew up on. So no Long Island iced tea. I drank too many of those at Illinois. Had some bad memories from them. So no iced tea. But big ups to your Boilers, boy. They look great. They look great. Larry Smith, your thoughts on Sky Clark thus far? We know how playing point can be as an incoming freshman. Boo, you are spot on, brother. I think it's going to take time. I've seen Sky Clark has some outstanding games against Longwood. Coming off of that Las Vegas Invitational, he really looked good, looked aggressive, looked comfortable. It's going to take time. And here's the thing, Larry. This year's Illini team, it's going to be different. And coach is going to have to play the personnel based on matchups and who they're playing. And so it's not like there's an 8-man rotation. There's a 10-man rotation. And then when Luke Goody comes back, it might be an 11-man rotation. That's really hard to do. And these guys are going to have to understand sometimes it's going to be your night. Sometimes it's really not. And so I think Sky Clark plus Jay Neps are going to have to figure that out, because Texas, you saw them struggle a little bit at Maryland, because, Larry, you remember this. In freshman year, Larry Smith, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't remember Larry is one of the most talented point guards that Illinois has seen, period. I don't care what point guards you bring and you list in the program. Larry Smith is one of the most talented point guards that ever put on a fight in Illini jersey. No cap, as the young people say. And so, Larry, you remember, who was our first road game in the Big Ten? Was it Purdue or maybe Wisconsin? And it was third-degree assault when we were bringing the ball up. Doug Lee was beating my ass as I'm bringing the ball up the floor. I mean, bumping me, hitting me, body bumping me, and stepping on my feet and grabbing my shirt. And I'm looking at the official like, what the hell is going on, right? So Larry understands this. When you first go on the road, that's why I want to see Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer from Purdue. I want to see them at Nebraska. How do they handle when the officials aren't making those calls that you used to getting at home as a freshman? It really throws you. So I think, Larry, that's what Sky Clark and Jaden Epps. Jaden's had more scoring success early on, but that's going to change because it's interesting when you as a freshman, you're coming through and you're on the scouting report, but people really don't know what you can do at this level. So it's going to be interesting. So I think a lot of that has to do with how Sky Clark and Jaden Epps will handle the transition into Big Ten play, especially on the road. Great question, Boo. Appreciate you, bro. Love you. Edward Potts, Boilers won at FSU versus Leonard Hamilton, who pressed entire 40 minutes. I saw some of that game. I didn't see Florida State pressing all game. Plus, Florida State is down. They were 1-7 going into that game. They've had some injuries. They've had some inconsistencies in their backcourt. And Purdue didn't put them away until late in the game. That was their first true road game. And they struggled against a 1-7 team for about 30, 35 minutes of that game. So we'll see, but boy, do they look good. What's up, Curtis Dietz? Good to see you. As a player, did you like playing in holiday tournaments? Or did you prefer playing in non-conference game when you knew who your opponent was? Some coaches don't like playing in tournaments since you don't know who you will play. I just like to hoop, Curtis, to be honest. I didn't care. The tougher the team, the tougher the opponent, the more I wanted to play. So if we had to go to Hawaii, which we were very fortunate to go 3 times in my 4 years at Illinois, we used to host the Illini Invitational. We had some quality teams come through then. So as a player, I just wanted to play the best people. And believe it or not, Curtis, we really had a good focus in college. Lou Henson did a masterful job. He and Jimmy Collins and Dick Nagy and Mark Coombs, the coaching staff, they never really let us look too far ahead. They did a really good job of just keeping us in the moment, keeping us next game. And so, we knew that Michigan was coming. We knew that, Iowa was coming down the line. But if we had an Auburn, if we had a Georgia Tech in front of us, we just salivated at getting a chance to tear them a new you-know-what. So, but thank you for that, Curtis. It's a great question. Has Texas won away from Austin yet? Ooh, you know what? That's such a good question. I'm going to find out that answer because I don't know the answer to that. And I'm going to find that out for you. So thank you for that question. Let's see if Texas has won away from home yet. And the answer is a resounding no, they haven't. They have not played outside of Austin. They beat Gonzaga. They pounded Gonzaga by 19, 93-74. They beat Creighton 72 to 67. And they had control of that game. Creighton made it close at the end, but they really Creighton struggled offensively. So, no, they have not won in a true road game. Okay? So now they're going to play Illinois in New York. Then they come back home for a couple, and then they play Stanford in a specialty game. And then they don't really they don't have a true road game until December 31st. So, Curtis Dietz, the question of the day right there, ladies and gentlemen. Great call on that one. So we'll see. They look great at Austin, but as we know, that's a whole different ball game. Thomas Dagley, what's good, Thomas? Good to see you, man. It's going to be a tough game. Need better shot selection. Totally agreed, Thomas, because against Texas, they're not only staunch defensively, but they do a really good job on the glass. So if you shoot poorly against Texas, they can make you look really, really bad, and they can squeeze. You guys have heard me use a boxing reference. I'm a huge fan of the pugilistic science, and one of my favorite boxers of all time was Bernard Hopkins because he was a great defensive boxer, and he would set you up. He'd get you in the late rounds. He'd get you so tired from leaning on you, clutching you, and hitting you off the break and jabbing you and setting you up with his right hand that when you got in the late rounds, you were battered, you were grabbed, you were frustrated, and he just drowned you. Just bring you in the late rounds and drown you, right? That's what Texas does. They hit you. They grab you. They get in your face. Nothing's easy. When you get an open shot, you're so surprised you're open that you rush the shot. And then you fall into their hands. You got to be disciplined. You got to get great shot selection. So great call, Thomas Dagley. Thank you for joining. Yep. No doubt on that Big Ten road, man. It's crazy. We'll be interested to see Illini defend Marcus Carr. I agree. Marcus Carr, it's been interesting because he has so much love and so much exposure at Minnesota, but then he's taken more of a lead guard role at Texas. He's still scoring at a double-digit per game clip, but he's not as dominant because he doesn't have to be. He's got better players around him. So I think that will be interesting. But, the Illini switch a lot. So it could be Coleman Hawkins, could be Shannon, could be Meyer, could be Clark, it could be Epps, it could be Melendez. It could be a lot of guys that switch out and try to check Marcus Carr. Going to be a fascinating matchup. Boiler up, Steve Kirk from Lockport, Illinois. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Big ups to the Boilers. Do Boilers have a trap game upcoming? All the games coming up for Purdue are going to be trap games, unfortunately, Steve, because they've gotten out to be so good, so dominant, so early that now they've got a bullseye on their back. And I believe that they should be, I believe, number 4 in the country. Yes, Purdue is AP number 4, coaches poll number 4 as well. So, and Purdue got 8 votes for the number 1 team in the country. So a lot of people are high on Purdue right now. So they're number 4 AP. So now everybody that they play, they're going to get their best shot. And Creighton has found that out because Creighton has dropped 3 straight games. North Carolina's dropped, I believe, 3 straight games because they were top 5 AP there for a minute. So every game now coming up, Steve, is going to be tough because if they have a letdown and those teams start shooting well and they start feeling good about themselves, the home crowd gets in, it can be tough. So it's going to be that's the beauty of college basketball, isn't it, Steve? That's why you got to watch. You got to watch your Boilers every time you can to see what happens. This year, the Illini players who can create plays for themselves. Last year was either threes or get the ball to Kofi. Very good point, Carol. That's gonna really aid them down the stretch. Larry Smith was a superb sub, maybe the best guy coming off the bench. I believe he started at point his last year too. Curtis, you're exactly right. And Larry could go, man. Larry was athletic. He could pass. Lou Henson was a little restrictive. And I think that hurt Larry a little bit because Larry was incredibly instinctive and creative. I'll never forget this as long as I live. Y'all know I'm an expert in basketball, played and covering. And Larry Smith threw one of the best passes I've ever seen. And I believe it was our freshman year because we were at Pitt. It was the night before we played Pitt. You guys remember Demetrius Gore, Jerome Lang, Charles Smith, the 6'10", Charles Smith that played with the Knicks forever. All these guys were on the same team. They had another guard from Detroit that was really good. And I believe Sean Miller was on that team, the head coach at Xavier. Sean Miller was a point guard on that team. This was a loaded Pitt team. So the night before, we're at Pittsburgh practicing, and we're scrimmaging. And Larry Smith is on the same team with Ken Norman. So Larry Smith gets a defensive rebound, takes one dribble, one hand pass, throws a laser, bounce pass, hits Snake right in stride. All Snake did was catch it and dunked it. All of us were like, dang. We're like, whoa, never seen a pass. Like, Larry threw it. Larry, how far were you? You may have been at the free throw line and you threw it and it bounced just past half court and hit Snake right in the hands. He caught it, ran to the hole and flushed it. I believe it was about a 75 foot bounce pass that hit Snake right in stride through traffic. We're going 5-on-5. And he threw a laser. It's one of the best passes I've ever seen. And so Larry did that. He did that on occasion. Some of his best stuff was in practice. some of the best flying the line out stuff was in practice, y'all. I've said that before, and Larry was a big part of that. So you're spot on, Curtis. It's Mary Gertzmeyer on my husband's Facebook. What are your thoughts regarding the top 25 rankings? How reliable are they right now? Mary, you've asked me about the rankings before. I don't put a lot of stock in those because they're going to shift. College basketball is one of the good things about college basketball is its unpredictability. And so with its unpredictability, the rankings are going to shift. Like I just said, North Carolina's dropped 3 in a row. Creighton has dropped 3 in a row. So they're going to slide up and down, but they're still quality teams. Teams just go through different things. Sometimes it's personal. Sometimes it's injury. Sometimes you have an internal conflict on a team that once it's resolved, the team gets back to all being on the same page and you start to see them soar. And so I wouldn't put much into the rankings. But, Mary, I think there's congratulations at hand because did your son get engaged to get married? I believe it is. You've got a new Gertzmeyer coming into the family. So congratulations to you. I know that's a wonderful thing to add to your family. So congratulations. Love the photo of you and Edie. The guy's a monster. Yeah, Edie's huge. And you know what? He's a fun guy. He's got a really cool sense of humor. He's a really intelligent young man. I knew to get his attention when I said T-Dot is my favorite city, and he lit up. He was like, what? Because he's from Toronto. And can you imagine that dude being on skates? He was a hockey goalie before he got 7'4", but he was still like 6'8", 6'9". He was a hockey goalie. He's a fascinating young man. But yeah, I love taking that photo with him. Yes, RJ Melendez has stepped up. How high do you think his ceiling is? RJ Melendez is an NBA prospect. He's a legit 6'6", 6'7", long arms, sneaky athletically, streaky shooter, and a better defender than given credit for. So I like the fact that he's gotten back on track offensively. That will help. He's a guy that really is affected, which a lot of college players are. They're affected whether that they see the ball going through the hoop or not. It affects their energy level and focus. So he's not unlike a lot of college players where now he's scoring the basketball. You'll start to see some of the other areas elevate. Bardo, you need to get a website where you can sell some swag. We'll love a Bardo's Breakdown t-shirt. Curtis, I'll send you one of those. I think I've still got some left, but thank you for that suggestion. I appreciate it. Yes, totally agree with Larry Smith being one of the best. I knew his brother Duck when you guys are hooping for the Illini. Duck. That's crazy. I hadn't heard Duck's name in a minute. That's cool, Carol. Damian Cox, what do you think of Georgia and Mike White? You know what, Damian? I haven't paid much attention to Georgia right now. Let's pull them up and see what they are doing. Because I haven't really, like I said, I haven't been paying much attention to anything outside the Big East and the Big Ten. So Mike White, this is his first season with Georgia, and Georgia's 7-2. Now, they've had Cupcake City in terms of their schedule. They've lost at Wake Forest, which at Wake Forest went into Wisconsin, got a 3-point victory. Wake Forest is a quality team, so no slouch there. Georgia lost at Wake Forest. They lost at home to UAB by 14. No, that wasn't at home. That was in a tournament. That was on a neutral floor, but they lost to UAB 87-76. And their toughest opponents coming up, they're going to be at Georgia Tech. They've got Notre Dame in some kind of specialty game. And then they go into SEC play. So they've had a really weak non-conference. So I'll have to wait and see, Damian, what they look like come conference play. Matthew Meyer has not been real productive. At one point, does he get replaced in the starting lineup? You know, I'm going to say something, Mike. I've noticed Meyer, sometimes he looks disinterested. I don't like his body language. I don't know what it is. Maybe he's still having, his back might get tweaked a little bit. But sometimes he seems locked in, and sometimes he's just out there. I don't know what the remedy is for that. I know that there are times when players transfer. There's a reason why they transfer, whether it's personal, whether it's the coaching staff. I don't know. but I would like to see him play with a little bit better sense of urgency, because there are times when I know what he's capable of. I've seen what he did when he was playing at Baylor, and you can see glimpses of it, but it's too few and far between to have that kind of hype around him and his arrival and the level of expectations that he has with this team. So good point there, Mike. Didn't you have to play Georgia Tech twice in '89? Yes, we did, and we beat them twice. We beat them, and then we became number one in the country for 1 week. Once in Holiday Tournament and once in Champaign. Yep. Yeah, we played them out in Hawaii, beat them in the Hawaii Classic in Honolulu, then came back 2 weeks later and played them in Champaign, beat them on Super Bowl Sunday. Let me get some other people in here. Oh, Steve, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Please like, share, and comment this show to people that you think would really like this show. I love you guys tuning in. I love the interaction. I love talking with you. I think what I'm going to do one of these weeks, I'm going to have maybe Carol Poquette or Joe Stovall or Donovan Lang or Curtis Dietz, Thomas Dagley, the people who really, rock with me. I want to have them on the show with me. So, and if you're interested, let me know. But thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Please share, all of you, please share this with true basketball fans that you think would enjoy it. I love interacting with you guys. I love having this platform and the ability that we can have this two-way conversation, because you guys make me more knowledgeable about the game, and I love it. I'm having a love affair again with my job. The blessing of being able to call college basketball games at the Big Ten and Big East level, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like going to see these coaches that I either played against or got recruited by or know, pull for them. I love all the players. I pull for every single player. If I see something that I don't like, I go tell Xavier Johnson last year midway through the Big Ten conference slate. I'm not going to take total credit for it, but I know I had something to do with him getting his focus back, because I pulled him to the side before a game and I got after him a little bit. I said, X, everybody follows your lead. If you're emotional, your team becomes emotional. If you keep your head, you're one of the best point guards in college basketball. Last season, towards the end of the season, he was one of the best players in college basketball. I got at Robbie Barron at Big Ten Media Day this year. I tapped him in his chest. I said, Robbie, you got more ability than most basketball players in the conference. I need to see it night in, night out. He's done a better job. So is Boo Booey. I love all these players. They're my brothers now. It's a brotherhood. So thank you, Steve. I know I went on a tangent there, but I appreciate you. Think after Jerome Lane dunk, Bill Raftery says, send it home, Jerome. Yes. Yes, that is a Raftery special. One of these years, someone needs to get an Illini convention going. I don't think some of the players know how much they are loved today. Curtis, you know what? I'm going to post that. I'm going to screenshot this and post it, and hopefully some of the Illini players will see this, because that's a lot of love right there. I appreciate it. George has been a tough job for a while, and I think there's a problem, there's a chasm between the University of Georgia and the city of Atlanta, because you rarely see players from Atlanta go to Georgia. I think the last player to do that of notoriety was Contavious Caldwell Pope. I think he was the first Atlanta area kid to go to Georgia in a long time. He was only at Georgia 1 year and went right to the NBA. So I think Mike White, in his recruiting prowess, he did a really good job of recruiting at Florida. I think he's going to have to try to figure out what that is. Meyer did the same thing at Baylor, but man, sometimes he gets on fire. At least at Baylor, he did. Yeah, he did, and we need to see that. We need to see that Baylor Meyer more than anything else. Let's see. Now that's an idea, Thomas Dagley. We might have to pull that off. That would be fun to get all of us out together. And even if you don't golf, come out and join us, and we'll have some food and drink and get on the golf course and have some fun and tear up somebody's course. Okay, wait a minute. Curtis Dietz is right. I'm sorry, Anthony Edwards. And I believe Anthony Edwards was an Atlanta area kid as well. I think, yeah. Thank you, Curtis. So he's another one. But it hasn't been many. So they got to figure that out. All right. So that looks like that's all the comments right there. Let me remind you guys that if you want to join my email list, go to stephenbardo.com/college-basketball-newsletter. stephenbardo.com/college-basketball-newsletter. Please join the newsletter. I just sent one out today. I got some good feedback from my buddy Wayne Kimmel, multi-gazillionaire who has got a venture capital firm out in Philadelphia. He's a proud Maryland Terrapins fan. His son is attending Maryland, so he's having the time of his life. So big ups to James Kimmel, who's on my newsletter that gave me good feedback. So thank you, James. And he really enjoys the newsletter. I think you guys will as well. So please join the newsletter. Love to see you on there. Don't forget, if you know anybody who wants to get into sportscasting, send them to this link, please. Yours truly, online course is very in-depth. It's my 5-step formula for helping people prepare for entry-level position within sports broadcasting. And last but not least, get this Flying Illini Tumblr, y'all. Customize.it.com. Shop Customize.it.com with a K. All right? Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. I hope you had a great week. Leave your comments. If you're watching the replay of this, I'll come back and answer your questions. All right? Have a great week. You know I am. All right? Until next time, love you guys. Talk to you later. Holla, y'all.